What is regenerative nutrition, and why are we not asking the right questions when it comes to the food that we choose to eat or to buy? These days, people are asking whether there's gluten in a food or lactose, whether it's vegan, vegetarian, how many calories it has or fat grams, or whether there's saturated fat in it. But none of these questions really determines whether a food will contribute to a state of health and fertility, both in the human body and in the soil. The most important question we can ask when it comes to the foods that we choose to buy or to eat is whether this food is regenerative or degenerative. Let me explain. To regenerate means to replenish, to increase health and fertility. There's more after than before. Whereas degeneration means the opposite. We are diminishing health and fertility. We are losing it. There's less after than before. And to sustain means to maintain status quo, basically. These days, the majority of our soils and bodies are in such a state of depletion, of degeneration, that sustaining is no longer sufficient. We need regeneration. We definitely do not need more degeneration. And unfortunately, it's what we're most doing. Even products that are labeled gluten-free, vegan, organic might be contributing to the degeneration of soils, of ecosystems, of societies, of bodies. Because unfortunately, our food systems are more and more industrialized. And we might be using farming techniques that, although classified as natural or organic, might in the long term contribute to the degeneration of our soils by leaving the soil uncovered, by turning it over too much, by using heavy machinery, or of course using chemicals in conventional agriculture. And when we kill the soil, when we degenerate the soil, we are killing soil life. We're killing life. Because all life depends on soil life. A healthy soil is very rich in all kinds of organisms, all kinds of beings that are playing a vital role in maintaining it healthy and fertile and productive, so that it can continue to feed us, to absorb and store water, which prevents both floods and droughts. A huge part of the world is desertifying, and that leads to all kinds of conflicts, of crises all around the world, even wars, refugees. A healthy soil will also sequester carbon out of the atmosphere and store it back in the soil, reversing climate change. So the most important question is whether a food has been produced in a way that regenerates or degenerates soil life. And of course also the life of the farmers, which are coming in touch with the chemicals, for example, also degenerating their health in the process. We have created this artificial separation between animal and plant that doesn't exist in nature, that never existed, because they evolved together and they need each other still for maintaining optimal health and fertility in the long term. A plant food can be produced in a way that is degenerative, and an animal food can be produced in a way that is regenerative. So you might be contributing to death, to killing us all, even if you're not eating any animal foods. And that is important to understand. It's not about animal versus plant. It's about how we manage the production of both. Because these days, there's hardly any wild animals or plants anymore. We are in charge of managing them. And the same tool used in different ways can have completely different effects, also depending on the environment where you use it. Alan Savory there differentiates very beautifully between more brittle and less brittle environments with very different effects of animal impact, of fire, of rest. As it's also true in the human body, different metabolisms will respond differently to different foods, depending on whether you find yourself more in a state of deficiency or excess, speaking in terms of Chinese medicine. The intention, of course, also behind growing a food, things that cannot be measured but felt, the life energy, the love, or whether something is merely profit-driven. Regeneration affects production, but also processing. Many foods these days are industrially processed, including organic foods, and as such become denatured and degenerative. And last but not least, it of course also depends on your individual metabolism and on the way you eat, whether you eat under stress. There are many factors, food quantity as well. But I hope I already gave you some inspiration for asking the right questions as of now when it comes to the foods that you select or when you go to eat somewhere. More to come soon.